The broker has a pitch. Now you get a CPA. Quick thing before we get started. Everything I teach here, I go deeper inside the Firewatch Business Lab on school.com. It's a free community for business buyers. The CPA due diligence checklist lives there, and you can download it for free. You join for free. The link is in the description. Come on, join us in the lab. I'm Jason Schmidt. I help people buy businesses for under $500,000 and help them so they don't make costly mistakes. And today's video is one where everything you've learned actually pays off. Today, we're talking about negotiation. Most buyers think negotiation means being aggressive, playing hardball, winning. That mindset kills deals, or it might poison the relationship that you need while you go through transition. Real negotiation in a business purchase is walking in with verified facts that sometimes the sellers don't even think you'll check. The first thing we're going to talk about is your verified numbers being your greatest leverage. The leverage was built during due diligence. The negotiation is when and where you actually use this leverage. Today, how to negotiate hard, lower the price, or improve the terms and keep the deal alive. You know, the gap between SDE and a verified SDE that you do is your strongest and most defensible negotiating position. The broker may present you an SDE. You verified the real number from the tax returns, and that's discussed in video 2 and 5 in this series. If verified SDE is lower than they claimed, you have a justification to have the price lowered. And you will have the documentation to support that. This isn't an opinion or a lowball. It's actually arithmetic. And the seller really can't argue with it. So the best way to present this is based on the verified financials. The SDE I can document is X, which at the industry multiple supports a price of Y. It's factual, it's unemotional, and it's really kind of hard to refute. You're not going to insult them. You're showing them your work. This single move is the most powerful price reduction tool in any business negotiation. The second thing, due diligence findings to justify price adjustments. Okay, every red flag you found is a legitimate documented basis for a price adjustment. Like equipment nearing the end of its life or its useful life. The replacement cost has to come off the price. Now, we discussed that in video 1 and in video 5. Lease issues like short term left on the lease or an escalation clause, weak renewal options. You know, that risk adjusts the valuation down. We discussed that in video 4. Declining revenue trend. Price reflects trajectory, not the peak. Customer concentration or owner dependency. Higher risk, lower multiple is justified. The framing that works here is, I want to move forward here, but what I found is this, and here's how it affects the number. Now, I'm not saying you're going to nickel and dime them to death. You're pricing in risk like a professional, and the seller should respect that. And you know what? If the shoe was on the other foot, they would do the same thing, and they should do the same thing. Third thing we want to talk about, price versus terms. Why terms sometimes matter more than the price. You know, a lot of time the buyers are fixated on price. Sophisticated buyers negotiate terms. Price is a number, and it's an important one. Terms shape the actual risk and cash flow. If you have seller financing for a portion, that reduces your SBA loan, improves your DSCR. That we talked about in video 8 and video 9. You know, the transition period. You know, a longer seller-led handoff has real value. You should negotiate for it. Let me tell you something. If that owner is in that business all the time and they have got a ton of work that they're doing to build that business, you need to make sure you understand what they're doing before they leave. Before the actual handoff is there, you need to make sure you understand what they do. Because you don't want to be flying by the seat of your pants while you're trying to take over this new business that you just bought. A training commitment. Get a training commitment. Get the seller's knowledge transfer in writing. Let me explain something. Get a note taker, right? There's apps all over the place for note takers. When you're talking to that owner, take those notes. If it's a computer problem or a computer something they do every day, take screenshots and build a step-by-step checklist. I've done that 100 times. All right, a non-compete. This protects the value you're buying, and it must be included. Some people say a non-compete is not worth the paper it's drawn on. Well, you can certainly threaten with it. Working capital included at closing. All right, whether you're buying the inventory and receivables that come with a deal, it really changes your real cost, right? Inventory and receivables, we really haven't talked about that a whole lot, and I probably should do a video on that. And the reason why is I'll give you a couple of quick examples, right? I was working with a client. She had worked at this gift shop for years and years, very successful gift shop, been there for 10 plus years. She wanted to buy it. The owner was retiring. The owner said, I'm not selling you this business unless you pay me 100% of the value of the inventory. 100%. Now, some of that inventory that this new buyer's buying won't be able to be sold at the full retail price. Some of it was going out of style or out of date. Guess what? You're not going to get the full amount, although she had to pay 100% of the cost of that inventory. Now, to me, that would have been a deal killer. I told her that she should probably walk away, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but that kind of a deal is not good. Let me tell you another one. I was helping out this guy. He was buying a restaurant, and it was time for them to go in and do the inventory of the food in the freezer, refrigerator, all that. Well, he had some buns. The old owner had some buns sitting there that were going to go out the next day. They were going to go out of date the next day. Well, the guy who was buying it said, I'm not paying for these buns. They're going to go out the next day. And the guy goes, well, they're not out of date. You got to buy them. But they go out of date the next day. No, don't care. You need to buy them. Well, they determined that he would pay half price for them. But it's always something like that. So you got to be careful with that when you're buying inventory and receivables. Just some quick stories. We probably should do a video on that. Sometimes accepting a slightly higher price for dramatically better terms is a smart deal, especially if they're dramatically different. You look at the entire deal as a whole. It is about the total deal structure, not just the sticker price. Okay, let's get into contingencies. These are contingencies that protect you. The right contingencies let you move forward without betting everything on assumptions. And they know what they say about assumptions. Financing contingency. If the deal is contingent on securing your SBA loan, don't risk your earnest money on a denial from the SBA, right? Don't do that. The due diligence contingency. This gives you the right to fully verify before committing. And this gives you an exit if something materially turns up that doesn't look good. I'll give you an example. I was buying a piece of property, a commercial piece of property. We went in there, we put down our earnest money, but we had a due diligence contingency. And when we looked into it, the drainage was a problem. Okay, if I'd have bought that property, it was going to cost me between $125,000 to $250,000 to fix the drainage. Yeah, if I hadn't have done that, so it didn't meet what I needed it to do. It was a material change that I couldn't do, and what I wanted to do with that piece of property couldn't be done because of the drainage. So we were able to walk away from that and get our earnest money back because of the due diligence contingency. All right, lease assignment contingency. The deal must be contingent on the landlord approving the transfer on acceptable terms. The landlord approving is one thing, but the terms when the landlord approves must be acceptable. The landlord sometimes won't assign that lease and you won't be able to take over that lease. Sometimes wants to negotiate a completely new lease. And if that's the case, the terms have to be acceptable. That was in video 4. Inspection and equipment contingency. You got to have the right to professionally assess the equipment. And this is not about distrust. This is about the standard. These are professional protections, and they're reasonable. Any seller should and probably will accept. A seller who resists these contingencies is telling you something right off the bat. All right, let's go into number 5, the mindset of negotiate hard and keep the relationship. You will need this seller after closing. So how you negotiate matters as much as what you negotiate, right? Unlike most negotiations, you will have an ongoing relationship after the deal, through the transition, through training. And if there's seller financing, that's a whole different level. Aggressive adversarial attacks can win a lower price, sure, but could lose a smooth handoff, one that you may need. Respect plus facts is the winning combination. You will be firm on the numbers. You will be respectful and professional. Let me see. The buyer that has the facts win, but being emotional, you're going to lose. Now, sellers are often emotionally attached to their business that they built. You've got to acknowledge that. They put some blood, sweat, and tears in this stuff. It's been their baby. The goal is a deal good for both sides, and you walk away feeling good about it because you're about to be partners through the transition. Number 6. Now, we kind of covered this a little bit, but I want to make sure that we cover a little bit more here, is when to walk away and how that works as leverage. You know, sometimes no deal is the best deal. The willingness to walk is the strongest negotiating position there is. Listen, if the numbers don't work after verification, walking away is the correct move. You may end up as a complete failure and lose a ton of money if you don't. A buyer who can walk negotiates from strength. A buyer who's emotionally committed negotiates from weakness. Generally, knowing your walkaway number before you negotiate protects you from those emotions. Sometimes signaling a willingness to walk away is what moves a stuck seller to move forward. The deal you walk away from can be as valuable as the one you actually close on. Every video we've done in this series was about being able to make this decision from knowledge and not just some hope. Negotiation is where preparation becomes power. You verified your facts. You've done your due diligence. Your walkaway number, you know it. Now you can actually get down and negotiate. If you're heading into a negotiation on a real deal and you want a CPA's eyes to look over the numbers before you sit down at the table, listen, that's exactly what I do. Join for free the Firewash Business Lab on school.com. You can talk to me and others that are looking to purchase a business right now. Plus, you can download the CPA due diligence checklist. Next, we're starting something new on this channel, a series about what happens after you buy the business, evaluating the staff you inherit, building systems, surviving the transition. You know, because the closing is just the start, not the finish. It's not about finding a deal. It's about avoiding a bad one.